Alright everyone, it's day number 3 of 100 days of code. Let's get it going. And it's the day we've been waiting for. And then we're going to put that calculator together using JavaScript. So let's get developing. Alright everyone, do you remember this screen here? We had made this calculator in our last screencast, but I'm clicking on it and it doesn't work. So, and as you can notice, I made a couple of changes within the code. So first of all, let me go over those changes that I made. Okay, I added some classes here and changed some things around so I can get hold of, I can easily grab hold of the DOM elements from JavaScript, and I also made some stylistic changes and gave all the classes with the operator a yellow background, as you can see here. But other than that, and adding the JavaScript page document, there hasn't been too many more changes. So let's get right into programming this up and making it work. Alright, first of all, we're gonna have to grab a couple of things out the DOM, and that is the display and all the keys. So let's go ahead and do that. Get all DOM elements needed. So we're gonna say let display equal document dot query selector, and what do we call the display? We call the display input none. Okay, now to grab all the keys, we're gonna say let buttons equal document dot query selector all, and we gave them the class of keys. Now I'm doing query selector all because it's gonna put all the buttons into a node list. It's kind of like a array, so we can manipulate all of them at once. And now I want to set a variable up so that we can hold the values before we put them into display. So I'm going to create a variable to hold key values. So I'm going to call that ops, and I'm just set it to empty object, right, empty variable right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and create all the event listeners from the buttons. So we're going to loop through all the buttons and add an event listener. Okay, so it's going to be a for loop. let I equals 0. We want to run this loop while I is less than the buttons dot length, because like I said, it's in a node list, which is kind of like a variable. And then what we want to do is increase I. So now we loop through all of the buttons. I'm gonna set the buttons into another variable so I make it a little bit more condensed to work with. I'm gonna call it button equal buttons I. So now let's add the event listeners to all of them. So button dot add event listener, and we want to set a click listener onto it, and we're going to run a function. Oops. Okay, so inside this function, we're going to set up a switch statement to figure out if the button that we're clicking on are action buttons or just regular keys. So it'll become more familiar, more understandable as we walk through this. So like I said, I'm going to do a switch statement. So switch, and then what we're looking for is to see if button dot class list dot contains action. Okay, so if it does, I want this to happen, and I want to check and see if any of those buttons contain a class operation. So if button dot class list dot contain operation, I want to call a function called concat operation, and I'm going to pass the button. Else we're going to call another function called call action, and also pass the button. And then we're gonna break out of the switch statement if everything's true. But in case it's not true, I still want the concat operation button function to be called. So let's pass it again. And we also going to pass the button still. Then we can break out of that. Alright, so now that we got that set up, let's go ahead and make that function concat operation. give it the button, and inside this function, all I want to do is check and see if the um, class contains an operator. If it contains a class of operator, so if btn.classlist.contain operator, and then I want to check the ops variable and see if it's blank or not. So if not ops, we're just gonna return out of this. But if ops has it's not empty, we're just gonna make ops plus equal to wherever the button data set dot value is, and then we're gonna set the display to wherever that is. So display dot enter text equals ops. Okay, you're probably saying, okay, what is data set? Data set is the value of what we put into our HTML document as data value, data dash value, and that's how you retrieve those values within JavaScript. You just call data set dot value. If this was data dash calculation, then you would look for data set dot calculation. Okay, so I hope that explained everything to y'all. So now that we got the concat operation working, we still need one more function to be set, and that's for the action. So let's go ahead and create that function, and then we'll go through and test everything and see what happens. So function call action, and we're gonna give it the button also, and we're gonna run a switch statement from this one here too, because we want to test and see if the data set has certain values, and if they do, we're gonna run a separate little function. So switch button dot data set dot value, okay, so this one, the first case we're going to check for is calculate. And to go back, as we're going to see, calculate is the equal key or button. So if the user presses the calculate button, what we want to happen is we want the display to add or subtract or multiply or carry out the operation that we want to perform. So display dot inner text equals eval ops. Now, the eval function is going to go through and carry out um, the operation that was passed into ops. And as we having a concat operation, it's going to print out in the display either whatever the user clicks on. So it'd be like 1 plus 1, and eval will go through and do the addition for it. Okay. So after it goes through and does the addition or whatever on the operation on the ops variable, we want the display to go back and reset itself if the user clicks on some more buttons afterwards. So we're gonna go through and set ops equal to blank again. So now, after that's done, we can break out of that. So now, another case that we want to check for is the clear. So once a user presses on the AC button, in which we gave the data value clear, what we want to happen is we want the display to be erased. So that's pretty simple and self-explanatory. All we need to do is go ops equals an empty string. But if you see any other calculators around here on the computer, a calculator always has 0 in a display. So if ops is empty, we want the display to go back to 0. So now we can break out of this one and go to the next one. And I forgot to put the colon there. So let me do that. Alright, so the next case that we want to check for is the pause negative. And if somebody clicks on that one, we want the number that's clicked to change to positive or negative. So what I did was just change ops and multiply it by -1. We're going to tell in a minute that doesn't actually work the way we want it to work, but it's a little quick fix, and I couldn't find out how to make the operation I want to happen, so I'm gonna have to keep researching that one. And the last little case that we want to check for is the percentage sign. So if anybody presses on the percent key, we want the calculator to show a percentage value of the value that the user pressed. So to do that, all you have to do is just go OPS divide equal to 100. And we don't need this break here. It's the last option. We don't have a default, so let's save this. And see what happens. Okay, so one, we got our first error. What was that? Resource server responded with 4.4. You know why? Because we didn't start the server up. So let's start the server up. Actually, I don't want to show it in Safari. So let's bring it back over here to Chrome. By now that we got it loaded into Chrome, let's see what we got going here. So we have 1 plus 3 equals 4. Alright, and we can go through and we can clear it out with the AC. 4, we can hit the, we can hit that and it goes to negative 48. And we can hit 5 and we can hit the percent sign and equals, and we bring a percent of the number that we created. Alright guys, so now we have a working calculator. Alright everybody, day 3 is in the bag. And as usual, if you got any value out of this video, please do not forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you can hit that bell icon so to be notified whenever I come out with another video. And as usual, all the code for this video will be located in my GitHub page, which is located below. And until tomorrow, keep developing.